Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Canadian Football Central, CFL content for the fans, by the fans, and we have our Week 17 preview coming right up. We have 4 games, Rick, and like you mentioned just before we started recording,
every games matter this week.
Every game matters this week. There is no such thing this week as a small game. Each game with some pretty big ramifications if they go one way or the other.
Not only that, but when was the last time that you've seen every team still in the playoff hunt? It's late into the season.
It's been a while.
It's retarded
because both teams, both teams that were seemingly out of it, being Edmonton and Hamilton, have both kind of went on surges, and then there've been a lot of teams stuck in that murky middle. And only a few teams that are really starting to poke that head above water. Montreal, still to date, the only team that has clinched. However, there are 2 teams with opportunities to clinch this week. If Winnipeg wins, they'll clinch a playoff spot in the West. The main thing is not a home playoff game necessarily, but they will clinch a playoff spot. And that is the same case for the Ottawa Red Blacks for, I believe, the 3rd straight week they now have a chance to clinch, and they haven't done it yet.
And Montreal beats Toronto. Montreal will clinch
a home game.
The East. The East.
Oh, the East. Oh.
Because if you think about it, they're 6 points up on Toronto right now. 4 games left.
Are they 6 points up on Ottawa, though? Oh, they're yeah, okay, that's what
6 points in general.
Okay, sorry. You said Toronto. That's why I was confused.
Oh, well,
but yeah.
I mean, 6 points on second place.
Yeah, no. So then they very much with a win.
That's why Ottawa needs to win. If not, then Montreal will
if Ottawa
get home field advantage.
If Ottawa loses, they run the risk of Toronto possibly being able to creep above them. So Ottawa and our team looking for a big win this week. Finally clinch after a few weeks of having that kind of on the delay.
I just want to make something clear. I was incorrect. And I'm going to admit that I was incorrect.
Oh.
In our review, I said that there was actually a quarterback controversy in Ottawa. There was not. Drew Brown left the game with an ankle injury.
So pulled for medical
Just want to be
reasons.
Clear.
Nope, no, yes. That's good. If we find out stuff at the end of the day, it's one of those things. We don't know absolutely everything. We got to work with what we got. Sometimes stuff comes out and it's wrong, and you try to correct it, and that's all that is. So, all in all, I'm glad you're bringing that up though, because I didn't actually hear that. So, I'm glad you did bring that up. But Rick, shall we get into the first game here?
We shall.
We're gonna start with
the
the
good
first
old
one,
rematch.
The rematch from last week, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers take on the Edmonton Elks in Winnipeg. And I'm pretty sure one other thing that's very important, for all of this week, all of the CFL teams playing this week will be wearing their indigenous versions of the logos.
This is close enough that I have.
On the helmets. And I want to first say,
and jerseys.
I don't think jerseys. I think it's just helmets.
Oh no, they announced it that this is going to be the week of the jerseys.
Now, I know that they wear the jerseys for warm-up, but I don't think they wear them in a game. They wear the orange jerseys for warm-up, but I don't think they're wearing them in-game. I could be wrong. In previous years, it's always been on the helmets during the game, orange jerseys for warm-up. I've never seen them.
That is correct. You are correct.
Okay. So, just an important thing to mention. Now, one thing I do want to say before we get into this game, CFL, I think every team in this league should have an extra alternate jersey that is specifically designed around that indigenous logo. Because I'm going to tell you right now, all 9 of them are gorgeous. All 9 of them look great. Like, obviously, some look better than others, but I think
the one that blows my
mind.
Really, yeah, the one that blows my mind is the Winnipeg one.
I really like the Winnipeg one. It's funny. I saw people ranking them, and some people put Winnipeg last, and I was like, really? Although I'm not gonna lie, I struggle to rank them in the sense of they all look great. They all look fantastic, and I think that these logos and the job done by the artists who worked on them are so good that they deserve to be on a jerseys, and I think they would sell. I'd buy one. I'm telling you right now, I would.
Yeah, but what color would you make them though?
Just make them the team's colors. Maybe have little orange accents even on them. You don't necessarily need to always have the orange accents on them. You could still have them fit the team, but have more like indigenous colors incorporated with it. I wish I had it with me. The Winnipeg Jets one, it's a fashion jersey, so they're not wearing them on the ice, but they are selling them, and they have some of the yellow and the red and all the different indigenous colors on the jersey and other areas. There are ways that they can kind of incorporate that, and so I'm just saying, I think it would be a great idea for the CFL. I think it's a great way of connecting with community, connecting with indigenous peoples, and I also think that just financially, I think it would do well. I think it would sell.
If they do that, I'm telling you right now, they best not be charging out the behind for these jerseys.
They're not
like it's bad.
They're not.
It's bad enough
these
that
jerseys. They're not making these jerseys. These are a proposal that I am saying that they should.
No. I'm using your proposal, and I'm saying if they did.
Yeah.
Keyword is if they did. I best not be seeing them like our Made in the Hammer gray jerseys, where it's almost the same price. They should try to have these
jerseys be affordable. Now, I also think that if they could donate some of that money towards indigenous communities, I think that would be really good.
Or go 50-50.
I believe, actually, I think some of these orange jerseys are getting auctioned off afterwards. Is that correct?
That I don't know. However,
I could be wrong, but that was kind of what I thought I remember from last year, was that some of these jerseys were auctioned off and some of the proceeds going to indigenous communities.
I know the Ticats. I know the Ticats actually sell theirs at the end of the year locker cleanout day.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I can't remember exactly. I think the Bombers might auction them. I'd have to see. But yeah, I mean, with all these, I love all the branding. I gotta get like a hat or a toque shirt with one of those on. But all in all, it'll be nice seeing them have that. They'll have that on the field in IG Field as well. I'm pretty sure they actually go to the end zone and they add that in. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I remember that from last year. Or they add like a little orange around the outline. But
the Elks fans came out today or yesterday and said that Jackson made the biggest mistake.
Referring, of course,
last
to Coach
week,
Javarius Jackson.
Yeah, made the mistake announcing who the starter was days in advance before the game even started.
I think that is a mistake, yeah.
This time, he's not announcing the starter until the depth charts come out.
Yeah, no, this is why some people find Coach Mike O'Shea to be a little bit difficult in a press conference. Not because O'Shea pushes back on the press kind of like a John Tortorella. He doesn't at all. It's because he doesn't give him anything. Where they'll be like, what do they think of him? And he'll be like, we'll see how he's feeling. Just doesn't get. He plays poker face. But you know what? That's kind of what you want to get every little advantage in this and that will drastically affect the way that the other team watches film. As you know, I remember watching film a lot when I played football in high school, and that was things like that every little bit. Film is such a underrated skill in football. People don't realize how important film is. Film is everything. And so, every advantage that the Elks can get in that regard, it would be smart for them to take advantage of.
That almost kind of reminds me of Milanovic, where like the press will be like, "So, what do you got to work on this week?" And he goes he's like, "You know what? We just need to record me saying it once, and every time each of you media people ask me this question, we're just gonna roll the tape and roll the footage so that you can hear me say it multiple times."
Yeah, they're like, Milanovic, what did you think of last game? He's like, get pucks deep. And then that's it. Just the generic auto response. No, but I mean, Elks Bombers. So this will be a bit interesting as well. I think the status of Kenny Lawler looks a little unknown. As last game, he gets a little bit roughed up. Looks to be okay, a little bit of a limp, but pulled out by the injury spotter. And Rick, why are you looking at me? Is there a report?
No, because I accidentally put him in my fantasy this week.
Well, remember, he got roughed up in that game.
No, I know. That's what
Rick, you're looking at me like you're in the middle of reading an article that he like snapped his leg in half, and because I'm like Kenny Lowe looks questionable, and Rick's looking at me like acting like he got shot or something. I will be honest. I never heard about Rick. Don't scare me like that, my boy. Don't make me scared about Kenny Lowe like that. Oh my goodness.
I will be honest. There's only one injury report out this week, and that's it.
Who is that?
Like one game report.
Who is it?
That's the Hamilton and BC.
Okay.
Because you guys just played Saturday evening, so obviously they're going to give you guys. But you guys play Friday.
What? No, I said you guys played last Friday.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but then so with this game, one of the biggest question is will either team, especially the Bombers, stop the running game? Because both teams had issues with it. I think Bombers had a bit more issues stopping Rankin than the Elks did with Oliveira. Naturally, with Rankin, though, getting the ball, I think, how many times did he get the ball last game? He got the ball.
Too many times.
Both of them got it a ton. Oliveira got 18 rushes, and Rankin got 14. So literally almost the same, like 4 rush difference. 157 yards for Rankin and 127 for Oliveira. If you're Winnipeg, you want to get that passing game going a little more. Ontario Wilson with a strong game last game. I think if you want to get Nick Dembski going a little bit more. I think maybe being able to utilize Lucky Whitehead more on that jet sweep that Buck Pierce likes running will be good. Keeping Wheatfall around where he is with, 3 receptions, 43 yards. That's what he got last game. If he can be more consistent with that, I think that'll be good enough considering all the other depth. Claricia's just being a decent depth receiver. Expect a few more hitch passes in some passes into the flats for Brady Oliveira. I do want to see a little bit more than that just because it was a recipe for success. It did work a lot before and was a great way to get that ball away from the linebackers and allow Brady Oliveira to drop the shoulder on some small defensive backs.
Not only that, but that's pretty much all you guys have for rushing with Strevler out.
Yeah, although to be fair, that was majority of what it was even when Streffler.
I mean, besides Augustine, but.
Well, Augustine, people don't realize that Augustine is a very, very capable running back. He's just a different style of running back than Oliveira. He's not a guy that's going in for short yardage.
Played at all this year?
Augustine? Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, but you don't really see much of him, though.
Oh, like Oliveira is the bona fide starter. But I'm saying every time Augustine has gone onto the field, he's always averaging over 5 yards per carry.
The guy's only had 108 yards.
But if you look at how limited he's been in terms of on the field, he hasn't been on the field very much.
I guess.
For how much he's been on the field, he's done really well. It's just he's not utilized very often. When I say, you also have to realize that it's me as a Bomber fan saying that I've seen him. And this is because I'm a Bomber fan that looks into every little nook and cranny. The average CFL watcher that is maybe not a Bomber fan first would absolutely think he's invisible in terms of not seeing him. It's the same way that you might mention some Joe Schmo from Hamilton that I've never heard of. And then I'll be like, who's that guy? And you'll be like, what? How do you know who this guy is? He's playing. That one game he played 30 seconds in the fourth quarter. You didn't see it? And it's like, no, Rick, I'm not a Ticats fan.
True.
I know. I'm just saying that, it's more obvious to me because I'm a Bomber fan. I'm aware of my biases.
That's true.
Now, with the Elks, if you're the Edmonton Elks, you know what your number one goal is?
What's your number one goal?
When you have Curly Gittins Jr., when you have Herjay Mal, when you have Eugene Lewis, throw the ball more. They had not a single receiver over 50 receiving yards. You want to get the throwing game going a bit more. And one thing I will say for Winnipeg that I do think they need to continue, I'm not going to lie, I was pretty happy with the offensive line last week. I thought overall they were pretty good. They did give up one sack from Moncrief. But besides that, only one sack given up to the Elks. I think a very overlooked well performance by the offensive line for Winnipeg last week. Stanley Bryant coming back in, definitely making a big difference and really freeing up Zach Caleros on that left side. I mean, Stanley Bryant, we're talking about probably one of the best offensive linemen in Canadian football history, realistically. I mean, how many lineman of the year awards has this guy won? 6? Something ridiculous. Just absolutely bonkers. All the hardware this guy has under his belt. And even with him getting up there in age, he's still kicking it. Very much one of those guys that is still a very capable offensive lineman.
I know the season's not done yet. Mm-hmm. I do have a quick question for you. Because I was actually listening to 3 Down Nation earlier, and they were kind of debating on this.
Okay.
Do you, for your nominee of MOP for the year, do you go with Oliveira or do you go with Ford? Because you can't do both. It's either one or the other.
You know what's interesting? There's one guy that I think is worth mentioning that you didn't mention.
Out of those two.
Sergio Castillo, with all the records he's broken this year. He has shattered multiple CFL records. Not just Bomber records, CFL records. League-wide. However, I know they'd never let a kicker win MOP. I know they wouldn't.
Hey,
but I think he's got a good shot at special teams though.
NFL, there was one time they actually mentioned it today on the 3 Down podcast that an NFL player actually won the MOP as a kicker. But I'm honestly going out on a limb, and this is my bold take, that it's going to be Brady representing the West, and it's going to be Bo representing the East.
Very possible. Another thing I will say is that I don't think Terrell Ford will go MOP because I think Oliveira will be the nominee for most outstanding player for Winnipeg and most outstanding Canadian, and I think Terrell Ford will get the nominee for most outstanding defensive player for the defense. And I think he's got a good shot at winning that.
I mean, you also have McGilligan from Saskatchewan that has a good shot at getting that too, because he does lead in interceptions, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's possible. Again, there's a lot of talented players in the league.
Yes, there is, but I digress. Was there? I know you're going to be at this game. I'm going to be watching this game.
Yeah.
Well, for most part, because I'm going to be live streaming the Ticat game over on Ticats Talk Network. But is it that time
that we get on to your Ticats game? Or
no.
Make the predictions for
predictions.
Sorry, I forget because Bombers. Duh.
Okay, so you're going with Winnipeg.
Who are you going with? Are you?
We already discussed this earlier.
I know, but I just want to make sure.
What my picks were. I'm going with Winnipeg.
Okay. I was about to say, bold take having if you're going to have Edmonton win in our building. Gotta shut that down.
No, I'm done with Edmonton this year. I don't care who the quarterback is.
Fair enough. But that brings us into our next game of the week, which is the BC Lions hosting the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Rick, go nuts.
So, my question is, which team of the BC Lions is going to show up? The good offensive line or the garbage offensive line that gave up, 17 sacks or something like that against Toronto?
Too many. Too effing many. That's how many.
However, they did announce today that Ben Heletic, the linebacker, would be returning this week.
Oh.
However, Alexander Hollins is still out for another 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
And so is Maxim Royer. He's another linebacker.
Yep.
But for Ticats injury news, Greg Bell heel injury, limited. I'm going to Ticat practice, so I'll have a better idea of who's getting what tomorrow, because tomorrow's the second last day before Wednesday's practice before they fly out.
Yep.
After practice. Jordan Bird has a knee injury. He did not practice. Harrison Frost, healthy scratch, fourth quarterback. Obviously, he's a healthy scratch. Evan Johnson and Brendan Camp are both healthy scratches.
Yeah.
Jonathan Moxey is hamstring. He's limited. Desmond Patman is healthy scratch, full. Casey Sales, abdominal, limited. I honestly think if Casey Sales can practice somewhat tomorrow,
Yep.
then he'll play this week.
Okay.
DJQ, healthy scratch. Tim Ward, healthy scratch. Trayvon Mason did not practice today due to an illness, and then Devon Harris was toe injury, but he was a full practice. Going over to the BC side, so Ben Hellick, I already mentioned. Sorry. Tyler Packer. Got to watch how I pronounce that. He had a head injury, full.
Yep.
Jordan Perryman, hamstring, full. Gary Peters, hip, full. Amir Siddiqui, defensive line, knee injury, full. Isaiah Wooden, healthy scratch, wide receiver, full. And Corey Woodruff is offensive line, ankle, and full.
So,
but hopefully, I'm curious to find out tomorrow who's been getting the reps for starter.
Yep.
For the Ticats for running back, because we all know what Butler did last year against the BC Lions.
Do we?
Actually,
I need
I want to
a
check.
Reminder. Again.
I want to check to see. I know we didn't do well against them earlier. I want to see what Stanback had 82 yards earlier this season. Butler only had 27 yards. For some reason, I don't know why they didn't use him. Oh, yeah. And don't forget, Butler also had 108 yards receiving and one touchdown that game. That's where Bo threw three touchdowns, and Vernon Adams had 4. Keep in mind, also, Rick Campbell has gone on to say that moving forward, Nathan Rorick is the quarterback.
It is just interesting to see that quarterback dynamic in BC and how, because Rourke has been, really depends on the game. He's been inconsistent, but he's also had an inconsistent O-line in front of him.
Because also, that game earlier on in the season, McInnes had 144 yards, 2 touchdowns. But then Alexander Hollins also had 116, but Alexander Hollins is not playing.
Yep.
And our defensive line is also not our defensive line. Our offensive line is one of the top offensive lines.
Yep.
I'm not saying the best offensive line, but one of the top offensive lines in the league. So it will be interesting to see how well we do.
Yeah, I think.
And this is
one of the key things here. I think will be the Ticats' ability or inability, depending on how this game goes, to really shut down that BC offense. And I think Chris Jones has been a very positive impact. Had a very positive impact on the defensive play of the Ticats. I mean, I'm going to be honest. Me and a lot of people, we were all laughing when the Ticats brought in Chris Jones after that disaster that he left in Edmonton. And it's now become very clear that Chris Jones as a head coach cannot be trusted, but as a defensive coordinator is a guy that you like and can be very effective there. And so the Ticats have been able to do well with him. I would not be shocked if the Ticats, when they brought in a new coaching staff, they maybe actually would keep Chris Jones around at defensive coordinator and, actually sign him onto a deal. So that way it's not the Elks paying for him and he's actually employed, because right now it's...
I'm curious to see what side of Nathan Rourke we have this week.
Yeah.
And also if Bo Levi Mitchell can keep the hot streak.
If Bo Levi Mitchell can keep the hot streak, it is very possible that Hamilton could walk away with this with this victory. Because, again, they're on a bit of a heater right now. They got that kind of on their side. So, man, I don't know.
But don't forget, if Bo can hit... Stupid fly, it's driving me nuts. Bo... No, because I just see it flying across me. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Good God, I have them all the time at work, and I literally am a guy in my office with a bunch of papers just swinging them around, trying to... I killed 2 of them today.
Bo is 6 touchdowns away from hitting 30. The next closest is MBT, and he has 19. Bo's going to hit 30 within the next 2 games. I'm saying he's going to get 3 touchdowns against... BC, possibly 3 against you guys, depending on if that can be a high-scoring game and not a defense. No, I mean like when I say against you guys,
Jordan Younger is gonna shut him down. We shut him out that first half of the game. I don't know what you're talking about. High-scoring game, no scoring game.
No, I'm saying for Bo to get 3 touchdowns, it would have to be a high-scoring game.
Yes.
Keep in mind, last time our teams played, your quarterback threw 3 interceptions.
Last time our teams played, your team lost.
Only by a field goal.
I'm sorry, but I don't think it says that on the score sheet. I think it has a W and it has an L. L this way, technically for you.
And Tim White actually went off for 134 yards that game, so...
Well... He also went off to the sidelines, and he didn't have a win when he went there. At the end of the day,
in the past.
It all boils down. Close is only matters in horseshoes and hand grenades. Come on, you know that, Rick.
Anyways, we've talked about this game long enough.
We bring it up to the old timer.
You ready to go on to... Oh, before we go on.
Picks!
The next one. Yes. Picks.
Hey, Rick, want a bold take? I'm taking the Ticats again.
Ooh.
Yeah, you know what?
Are you trying to go 3-1 again? Just like I went 3-1 last week?
I went 3-1 last week, too, to be fair.
No, that's what I mean. We both went 3-1 last week.
I mean, I'm always trying to go 4-0, Rick. You know that. But the main thing is 2 things. Number 1, it's nice being able to... Because the thing is that the thing that sucks is when I'm conflicted, where it's like, oh, I want Hamilton to win because it helps Winnipeg, but then also my pick'ems, I pick the other team. I like aligning with who I like in terms of who I want to win. I want Hamilton to win because it helps Winnipeg, and I think Hamilton can win. I think, you know what, they didn't let me down last week. Hopefully they don't disappoint me this week.
We haven't let you down in 3 weeks.
I mean, you let me down the first 6 games of the year where I took you and they lost. But
No kidding.
Yeah, but you know what? Since they've been a little bit better, so they're kind of getting that record a little bit better. But I'm gonna go with the Ticats.
Okay, and yours truly, I will never bet against my Ticats.
Alrighty, so that brings us then
to the third game of the week.
Third game of the week, which is the Ottawa Red Blacks taking on the Saskatchewan Roughriders in Saskatchewan. Very important game here as Saskatchewan looking to stay kind of in a playoff race, sitting at currently 3rd in the West. They break the winless streak last game, but here's the question, Rick. Are they able to keep that upward momentum, or is this just the start of another new winless streak?
It's funny because
this is an important game for the Red Blacks too, where if the Red Blacks win, they finally clinch that's that spot in the East that they're looking for.
I mean, they've already had 2 tries. They couldn't get it done.
Surely they get it eventually, though. You know what I mean?
Best not be against us.
Well, that
Last
sounds
game
like that's an ish you and not an ish me. So, Rick, how are we feeling about this? Because I'm not going to lie, Trevor Harris has been okay. Receiving core for Saskatchewan has been okay. I think
running back has been amazing.
Yeah, I think last game the receiving core had a bit of a better game. Armstead, which is absolutely lighting it up last game with one hell of a game. And then so Jeremiah Mazzoli is going to be the starter here for the Red Blacks, right?
It has not been confirmed yet.
Because you said Drew Brown's hurt, or at least it looks like.
Well, that's why he was pulled last week. You got to remember, this game does not play till 3 p.m. Saturday.
Yeah. The other thing, though, to be fair, is that also I would say, even if that doesn't mean it's a guarantee, I would say it leans towards Mazzoli starting if Drew Brown, as of right now, is not 100%. As far as we know. Duncan Busby with a good game. If you're Saskatchewan, you want to get more. Schaefer Baker had a good game. I'm not really concerned about him. Samuel Emelis, Sean Van Jr., and Ajoa Joe. All 3 of them had 1 catch last game. I think at least 1 or 2 of them you want to get more out of that. Because I think those are very capable guys that you just want to get the most out of. Brett Lothar, solid last game, 3 for 3. Defensively, Marcus Sales, Milligan, Revis with some good games last week. Jameer Thurman has done well for them, and so I think there's a lot that Saskatchewan has that they can use. But it's going to be important for the Red Blacks to have a bit of a bounce back game, as they had not. They had. I don't really know how to describe their game against Montreal. I guess you can just check out our review we did for that week, but it was very so-so. Lewis Ward went 2 for 2 in that game against Montreal, but with Ottawa, they couldn't get more than 6 points in a quarter. And at the end of the day, they got the touchdown, went for a 2-point conversion, and failed. Red Blacks gotta get that offense going a bit more. They held the Alouettes to 24 points, which is okay considering the fact that the Alouettes are like number 1 in the league right now. So very good in that aspect, but offensively you got to be able to put up more than 12 points on the board. And so that's going to be the challenge here for the Red Blacks against Saskatchewan.
First off, I'd like to know who's starting first, because that's going to be a big key.
Between Drew Brown and Jeremiah Mazzoli?
Because Drew Brown's been pulled the last 2 games.
But to be fair, last game was for injury, so that doesn't really matter.
But also last game, he wasn't playing that well.
He didn't have a great game last game. That's true. But I'm just saying it wasn't for that reason. But fair enough. He didn't have the best game. I will say I don't think this matters as much in terms of quarterbacks who's starting for Ottawa as it does in terms of how the Red Blacks respond to their former running back playing against them. Armstead, former Red Black, released by them, goes to Saskatchewan, lights it up, and now will have his first game back in Ottawa and he will now be playing against the very team that cut him after he was leading the team in rushing yards.
So if Ottawa wins, Toronto's going to have a hard time catching them unless Toronto wins on Saturday.
So here's a question, Rick.
Who am I going with?
Yeah.
I got to stay true to what I said earlier. And as much as I hate such a strong word, dislike the team above us, I'm going to go with Ottawa only because I want them to finish higher than Toronto so that Toronto cannot hold a
funny thing is
home
that
playoff game.
I'm gonna pick the Red Blacks, and that's actually because I actually hate the other team, the Saskatchewan Roughriders. You know what? Hate is a strong word, and that's why I'm choosing to use it. And so I do hate the Saskatchewan Roughriders. I will say that loud and proud as a true Blue Blomber fan. Screw the Riders.
The interesting
Although
thing
under
is,
all you wonderful Rider fans, you guys are actually great. You're great fans for real of your team, but ours are better.
Riders lose.
So
we win. We're only behind them by 1 point.
You know what's funny? So far, we have the exact same picks.
Oh, this week we're going to probably end up with the same bloody picks.
I think we're going to end up with the same picks, too. As we're about to go into the last game of the week, which is the Montreal Alouettes versus the Toronto Argonauts in Toronto at BMO Field, where the Argos are fighting to really keep that third spot in the East. The Alouettes really not a ton to fight for, besides if they do win, they get themselves the East final. And so, or I shouldn't say they don't have a ton to fight for. That's big enough to fight for. But once the Alouettes get that, we might see a lot of guys start kind of shuffling out of the lineup there in Montreal.
Here's the thing.
Yep.
Montreal's last 9 away games, they haven't lost in their last 9 away games.
Yep.
Toronto's
being inconsistent.
Is 5-2 at home.
Mm-hmm.
But
and who are the two home games against?
That they've lost?
Yeah.
One of them's against us. And the other, I'm not
going to lie. I thought they both were against you guys because I know you guys got 3 wins.
No, we beat them twice at our stadium.
Twice at home and once on the. Okay, I see.
No. They lost to.
Was it like Saskatchewan or something? I can't remember.
No, that was. They lost to Montreal week 4 by 10 points.
Ooh, that's right. It's 30-10.
So the interesting thing is, not that it matters.
Yep.
This is the third game between the two.
Yep.
Montreal won game 1. Toronto won game 2. And now it's all set.
Yep.
For game number 3.
And again,
my problem is it's not the defensive line for Toronto. That's the problem.
Oh, it's not.
It's not. It's not the linebackers. It's the secondary.
Yeah.
Because even if you look against the last couple of, I'll just pick the 3 Ticat games for example.
Because I mean, if we're looking at that Argos defensive line, they got some really capable guys. Whether it was, first of all, 2 guys that were that we were very happy to join us on the show with Jared Brinkman and Derek Parrish. But then they also have guys like Jake Serezna, who's able to do a very good job in his games that he's played. I think last game, I believe he got a sack. I think last game he did.
He did. My thing,
game, yeah. I remember he walked through and he, hunkered down and.
My thing with Toronto's secondary is they let too many long bombs go.
That is very true. Now, I will say the Alouettes have had problems with some of their key receivers going down, with Austin Mack being out currently, with Phil Pop being out for the season. However, I think we'd be lying if we said that the Alouettes didn't have a lot of capable receivers left that still could do a lot of damage, that could do very, very well in a matchup against the Argonauts with, again, the way that Argos secondary that has not always been the most effective. You still got guys like Rambo, guys like Sneed, Fletcher, Julian Grant, Speaker, Thomas Erlington, Reggie White Jr. Lots of guys in that receiving core that can do a lot of damage. And a lot of those names we might see, I feel like, kind of spread out from the Alouettes in some future years. Some of those guys sticking around, but I think, to me, in my opinion, there's a lot of talent there, and not all of it can stay in Montreal. And so I think they'll have a similar problem to
it's not only that. It's not only that. Then you got on defense, you got Sankey, you got Beverett, you got Sutton.
At the end of the day, they won't always have cap for those kinds of guys. And so the Alouettes are going to try to get as much as they can out of them right now. And but the point is that the main point is that there's a lot of talent there, and there's a lot that they can do with it. And so even though Toronto's maybe looking like, all right, receiver 1 and 2 are out, let's see how this fares. This is still very capable receiving core for the Alouettes. And good job by the Alouettes defense last game, only holding the Red Blacks to just 12 points. They got 2 picks against just Drew Brown alone. And so
this will be the real test.
Yep.
Because the last time
you're talking for the Argos, teams, right?
Or no, just for the two teams in general.
Okay.
Because the last time these two teams played, Toronto won 37-18 in Montreal.
Yep.
But this will be the first time Fajardo goes against Kelly since last year's debacle.
Oh, yeah.
Of the East Conference, where Chad Kelly threw what was like 3 or 4 interceptions.
I think it was 4. I think it wasn't good.
But it will be interesting to see where that game ends up. So we have 2 games back to back.
Yep.
The good thing about this is what I like about the Saturdays back to back is.
Yep.
There's enough time that there's no overlap in the 2 games.
Yeah.
So Friday there's going to be an overlap. Like, why can't you just space it out and just put the Winnipeg game at 7?
I don't know.
No, I'm just saying that. Jesus Christ.
Oh, my.
Carter's like,
the fly's getting at you. You got to get one of those little things that looks like a tennis racket, but it's got the electric.
Oh, no. You know what I have? I have those
it's called
stupid,
like the electrocutioner or something.
No, I have. See, it's only one. It's not many. I have those things that hang from the ceiling that the flies get stuck on.
Oh.
It's like sticky, and then I guess it kills them, or just they
get stuck to it, and then they starve to death or whatever. Who knows?
Yeah, it's just
which is really gruesome.
Really pisses me off. But with that being said, you going with the
Alouettes?
Rouge? Are you going with La France?
I'm going with the Alouettes. Where are you going?
Oh my lord!
What?
Holy Batman! I just seen your brother's notification. It finally got done.
Yes. You didn't hear about it? Cole Perfetti signed a deal with the Winnipeg Jets for it's going to be a bridge contract for.
No, I know. I just seen the notifications. I'm like, oh. Oh, also, I don't know if you've heard this today. Do you remember Mr. O'Neill Jr. getting ejected in the game last week?
Yeah.
Well, he got released today. By Edmonton.
And this was who, sorry, again? You'd said?
Leon O'Neill Jr., defensive back for Edmonton. He got released by...
Oh.
Jesus. I'll just be like looking at my screen and just like... But, anyways, we shall see how things go this week.
Alrighty. Well, anything else you got there, Rick?
Nothing on my end, my friend.
All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe if you have not already. Make sure you guys hit the little notification bell as well. Helps out the channel a ton. If you guys are listening on Spotify, if you guys can like us and give us 5 stars, we would very much appreciate it. And also make sure you check out all our future videos, all our previews, reviews. And we got fucking Ash Ketchum over there in Hamilton on the thing. Yeah. Oh my god. Who's that Pokemon? Anyways.
It's a tiger.
Peace, love, and positivity, ladies and gentlemen. And I'll see you guys next time.